Hello friends, welcome to Dnyanadeep Academy's UPSC Answer Writing program. Today we'll be discussing a question on disaster management. This question is from UPSC Mains 2021. The word limit for this question is 150 words. Now, why am I telling you the word limit? Because the question is such that we can go on writing on this subject or this topic. But we need to keep in mind the word limit that is given for this answer. The question is, discuss about the vulnerability of India to earthquake-related hazards. Give examples including salient features of major disasters caused by earthquakes in different parts of India during the last 3 decades. So we can go back 3 decades to give a lot of examples on earthquakes. So as usual, we should first understand what is the focus of the question and what is the locus of the question. In this question, vulnerability of India to earthquake-related hazards is one focus, and salient features of major disasters caused by earthquakes is another focus. And in the locus here, we will have earthquake as a disaster. So we'll not be focusing more on the earthquake, but we'll be focusing on how India is vulnerable to earthquakes and some examples in the previous 3 decades. Okay. Now, in the introduction, because the locus here is earthquake, we'll briefly explain what earthquake is. Now, don't write earthquake in a geographic perspective. In very general terms, you can start your answer by writing what an earthquake is. For example, I have on purpose given this completely. Earthquake is a phenomena that occurs without warning and involves violent shaking of the ground and everything over it. It results from the release of accumulated stress from lithospheric or crustal plates. So this is how you can write. Now, in the body part, we are going to focus on how India is vulnerable to earthquake. There are 2 different ways of writing this. Now, because the word limit is only 150 words, we'll have to be very careful when we are giving reasons why India is vulnerable or how India is vulnerable to earthquakes. I've given very important and brief reasons why India is vulnerable to earthquakes, and also I've given you a map of all the regions in India which are vulnerable. Now, to start this with, the most important point I find here is that according to NIDM, 59% of India's area is prone to earthquakes. NIDM is National Institute of Disaster Management. Okay, so because the question is about vulnerability of India, this becomes very important. By writing this, you make it very clear that yes, this much percent of land in India is prone to earthquakes. Then the Indian landmass or the India-Australian plate is, moving into the Euro-Asian plate, which makes the country prone to earthquakes of moderate to high intensity, especially the Himalayan region. Now, densely populated areas, extensive unscientific constructions, and unplanned urbanizations have increased the risk of earthquakes in India. Now, while doing this, we'll also have to show how vulnerable India is to earthquakes. Now, you can make a map, rough sketch of India, and at least try to show zone 5 and zone 4 of areas which are prone to earthquakes. Now, zone 5 is you can see here, very high risk zone, which is, some part of Himalayan states here and some part in Gujarat, that is Kutch. And zone 4 includes some regions, again, Himalayan belt or below the states which come below the Himalayas. So you can make a map of these and try to show the states. Obviously, you're not supposed to show all the states here, but at least these red dots will give a clear idea to the examiner that you know which areas in India are vulnerable to earthquakes. Okay, because this is a question just for 150 words, this map can do more talking instead of writing more points. Okay, so this is more expressive of how India is vulnerable to different kinds of earthquakes. Now, when you're giving example, there are a lot of examples you can give of. Okay, but they've asked you to give, you can give 3 to 4 examples. You can start with Latur in 1993. This was a very severe earthquake. Okay, they've also asked you to give salient features of this earthquake. So you can give the magnitude of this earthquakes and also why they were special. Now, for example, earthquake in Latur was a shallow seated earthquake. So the destruction that we saw, it was huge. Then Chamoli in 1999, this led to huge landslides across the state. Bhuj in 2001, this was, the first earthquake which was in urbanized area. So it resulted into a lot of loss of human lives and infrastructure as well. Then you have tsunami of 2004. You have Nepal earthquake in 2015. When I say Nepal, it is actually Nepal, Bihar. So Bihar was also equally affected because of this earthquake. So these are the examples and some salient features briefly you can give about these earthquakes. Now, when we're concluding, I've on purpose again given you the complete conclusion here. Conclusion, we'll try to offer solutions to earthquake. Now, obviously, we cannot stop earthquakes from happening. But what can we do about earthquakes? We'll see. Establishing a system and culture focused on building earthquake resilient infrastructure. This, I think, is very important. Building earthquake resilient infrastructure is necessary to safeguard lives and infrastructure from devastating impacts of earthquake. This is one way of concluding. Then another point you can write, which is important, is use of technology to develop applications such as earthquake early warnings. This is an application developed by government of Uttarakhand. Okay, it can predict earthquake, few seconds before it happens. So not a very big time window, but still it is going to help us in saving lives or infrastructure. A real-time earthquake information system which can detect the onset of an earthquake and can help reduce impacts of these earthquakes. Okay, so anything that is there in the current affairs will be a good way to write in the conclusion. So this is all about this question today. Thank you and have a nice day.